Welcome to another program in the series Backstage at the Kennedy Center, where we take you behind the scenes of the latest productions at the Kennedy Center and discuss these works with the artists who created them. I'm Emily Mann, your host for today's program, playwright, director, and artistic director of Princeton, New Jersey's McCarter Theatre Company. Joining me in the studio is Liv Ullmann, world-renowned actress and director, presently directing Tennessee Williams' A Streetcar Named Desire with Cate Blanchett at the Kennedy Center. Liv Ullmann is perhaps best known to Americans as the multi-award-winning film actress seen in Ingmar Bergman's astonishing films written for her. But Miss Ullmann has appeared on stage and in movies all over the world. She made her Broadway debut in 1975 in Ibsen's A Doll's House, and since then has starred on Broadway and in London's West End 4 times. A celebrated actress, she's also a brilliant film director, having directed 4 feature films, 2 of which were written by her lifelong collaborator, Ingmar Bergman. Ms. Ullmann has written 2 memoirs and a book called Letters to My Grandchild, a book asking artists to write a letter to their grandchild of how they wished the world would be for their generation. Liv works internationally for human rights as Vice Chair for International Rescue Committee, and she is co-founder of the Women's Refugee Commission. Liv, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
I had the great good fortune, as you know, to see on Sunday your magnificent production of A Streetcar Named Desire. I don't remember being so moved in the theater for a couple of decades. And this is a play I know very well, as I told you. And it is not only the astonishing work of Cate and the beautiful company you made, but your direction is utterly astounding to me and has given me the play back almost as if it were new. So I thank you for that.
Thank you.
I wonder how you started this project. Did Cate come to you? Did you go to Cate? How did this begin, this wonderful collaboration with the company?
We were going to do a movie together on a script I had written on Henrik Ibsen's The Doll's House, and she was going to do Nora. But in the end, I didn't get the money I needed from Norway. I got it from outside, but not from Norway. And so it didn't happen. And then she continued to phone me and say, why can't we do something in the theater together? And at that time, I just wanted to be a film director. And then she became the head of the Sydney Theatre, and she phoned again, and she was in London. She said, I really want us to work together. And I went to London. And I had a long list of great plays, Ibsen, Chekhov, but never this play. For some reason, I don't know why, because it's one of my favorite plays. And suddenly, what about Streetcar Named Desire? And both of us just knew at this moment we were meant to do it. And I think a play called for her, this play called for her, and I do believe, working with her, watching her in the rehearsal, I do believe that some of the very, very best that she has inside, the creative force that goes very, very deep within her, was allowed to come out by this place.
Was it a gut instinct that you knew, looking at her when you said streetcar and her eyes lit up, you saw that it was right and it was right for you as well?
Yes, I saw a young woman, a child, and you know, her presence is very grown up and very pulled together and wonderful. But when she started to say Streetcar Named Desire, and I would really like to do it, I saw suddenly, here is such a young woman, and this very young woman, this very vulnerable woman, it can be so great because it's almost the anti-Cate Blanchett that I knew.
Yes.
And
yes, there's a vulnerability that she brings to the role.
Yeah.
Well, I've rarely seen on a stage, but I have never seen it in her.
Exactly.
And it's almost too intimate. You just go, you're in pain watching because it's so naked and vulnerable.
Yes, you are in pain, and I think maybe that's why it was good. A woman was doing that, and a woman was watching that.
Yes.
And I'm not scared of that pain, and I even encouraging.
Yes.
I'm very encouraging on this. For me, if we don't do this play as something real, I want, when we are opening and each performance, that the audience who are sitting there, they should believe that it is happening right here and now, and they can do nothing to stop it.
Yes.
And although the play is about people who do not see each other, who do not recognize each other, and that's why they harm each other so much, the audience who are sitting watching, they see it. They know that these characters are misunderstood by each other.
Without question.
Without question. And they have to be part of it, and they cannot stop it, and it has to be real. And the one word that I was saying all the time to the actors is, it has to be true, it has to be real. And I think that's why it's also good that they were Australian, I was Norwegian, none of us were Americans. And I think the ears of a Norwegian listening to Australian actors, I think I hear when they are great actors and not real people.
Yes, I bet that's right. Because of that's a question that begs to be asked. Here's an Australian company, an Australian actress, and a Norwegian director doing what is a quintessentially American and Southern American play. How did you find the culture of what Tennessee was writing about? Someone said you asked them to be listening to the blues. Is that right? Did you start there?
Well, you know, I did the auditions for the play 1 year before we started rehearsing, so I knew who was going to be in it. And I knew the blues were so important for him because he wrote in his diaries, and so while I was writing the play, I was all the time listening to the blues, and he gave names, and some of these melodies are in our
play,
production. Yes. I knew it was important, so I went to a professor at Tufts University who is teaching philosophy and music, and I asked him, can you teach me, because I didn't know anything about the blues. And I didn't come to his classes. He said, I want to be alone with you. He didn't want payment because he just loved it, and he loved Streetcar Named Desire. And I got a wonderful education in the blues. And then I sent them CDs, the actors, and when I came to Australia, the sound man, he's also a man who knows very much about the blues. And because I already had a very good luggage of blues,
yes, of course,
I could allow him to say, but what about this instead? Or I could say no, because I already knew.
Yeah, how brilliant.
And why blues, why they are so important, it's really because this is a play about the truths. And although Blanche so often, you know, she tries to make the truth more beautiful and so, but it's still true for her. But for her, when she's really, really truthful, it's mortal for her.
It's mortal for her.
It's mortal
Absolutely.
for her, because people listening to it, it's mortal for her. And this is what the blues are all about.
Absolutely.
It's the truth. It's what the black people who would be the first,
that's right,
they were singing about everything that they could not say. They were howling over the meadows about everything they could not scream.
Field hollers.
Yeah.
But also something that, you know, in the modern blues now, which is, I mean, the blues is timeless, but Cornel West, who's also a wonderful philosopher and an African-American scholar, a great friend of mine actually, he calls blues the autobiography of a people's catastrophe. It is a look at the catastrophic and being able to expel it, being able to create through it. So the pain of the blues is really, for me, the source of so much of your production and also what Tennessee was writing.
That's exactly, I mean, your words are really great. That is what it is about.
Yeah.
And this is a pain that doesn't belong only to New Orleans, it belongs all
to
over the
all
world.
humanity.
Yes. So for a Norwegian to recognize that through an Australian cast, that is normal. And I think even because it's your national play,
Yes.
Streetcar, I think maybe we see things that are so important to us because it's new for us,
Yes.
that we bring it forth. Whereas an
That could be,
American
yes.
maybe, oh, it's so natural for them, so they don't even think of bringing it forth.
There are a few things you've done in the play that make us look at it fresh. Because the great Joe Melziner designed it, often it is done much the way Melziner designed it. So you have all of, you know, the ironworks of New Orleans in the Quarter, you know, you have a sense of the scrims, you know, and there's a kind of romantic quality to the design. And you stripped it bare, which was much what you did with the actors too, stripped them bare.
Right.
And those two rooms never seemed so claustrophobic, so close, so dangerous.
I know, and they are dead because that is the agony too, both for Blanche and for Stanley and for the sister, that they are so close.
Yes.
They never get the privacy for love. They never get the privacy to keep out of the light if you are scared of being looked closely at. And I even had the thought, but we didn't manage that in the second act, it would be smaller. It would shrink.
That's so
But,
interesting.
yes, but I'm glad we didn't do that because there's no theatricality
Right.
in the thing. And obviously,
No.
if we started to shrimp, we would already be doing something a little.
Yes, and then we would be aware of it, and it would be an idea rather than a feeling that we were swept.
And that's so
into.
true.
Yeah.
There is no ideas. There's visions, what I
Yes.
wanted, and very much Cate was wonderful, agreeing on that, you know, the beginning where she's
talked about
sitting
the beginning.
and waiting, and then the end when she is free somehow. This was the beginning and the end.
And was
of the
this a vision that the two of you came to together, or was this an idea you had, or
this was the
Directorial?
real
That's
idea.
what I thought.
Because I do not believe that she is mad. Enormous anxiety, enormous fear, enormous everything, and she's a drunk.
Yes.
She's an absolute drunk. Her shivering isn't only because where she is; it's also the drunk of a
alcoholic.
and no money, no nothing. There's no return, and her reputation has come, and she's lost. Nobody wants her.
She's nowhere
Where do
to
you go?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there is a way. And she somehow finds a way, and I believe she even knows what's going to happen to her. And even then, she allows the beautiful things happen. Oh, a gentleman will come and get me and take me away from here. And I believe that deep down she's lying. She knows. And when
She knows Shep Huntley isn't real.
I believe so. And also the bad girl at this moment is also the sister. I believe the sister said, oh, Shep Huntley is coming, because the sister needs to get rid of her. Yeah. But I do believe when she walks out of the house, she is suddenly free. Here I am. That was the one vision that...
Here I am, I'm free.
Yeah, here I am, I'm free. And also how she is dressed. I
love that she doesn't get dressed.
Yeah, and you forget that. I had a girlfriend to whom this happened. Something had happened to her. And she looked herself in the mirror in the morning and said, what happened? Did I get a stroke? Whatever. No, I look normal. I look beautiful. And she was going to her office, and she opens the door and she goes out in the corridor, and then she looks down and she's in her underwear. And I told this story to Cate.
Yeah.
And
that's what did it.
There you are.
Oh.
And it's so filled of these things, these stories that everyone, one way or another, have experienced. And I think that is also why the audience are adapting so.
Absolutely.
much to it.
When she runs under the bed, when she's,
Yes.
we all know what that is.
Exactly. And when you hide behind a shawl.
Yeah.
I had another, my dearest friend in the world, dearest man friend in the world. He was sick and he was going, and before I went into his room the last time, the wife said, you know, he's sitting under a blanket. And I came in and he was sitting under a blanket.
Yeah.
And I still don't know why, whether he was already preparing, whether he just wanted to be private, but at the same time talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And all this is Blanche's travel. And I told this story to her too. I was very afraid she wouldn't do that, but she did it. She is so brave, she is so real, and I have never in my life seen a performance grow this way. I've never seen the creativity so obvious in an actress. And even in the first rehearsals, if I had had a camera, I mean, that face, when it started to happen within her soul, it just falls out of her face, whatever is happening inside.
How did you prepare before you got to rehearsal with Cate? Did you and she have many discussions? No. None. Huh.
Because sometimes, you know, you can speak something to pieces.
That's right.
Of course,
Talk
because
too much.
talk too much, and and that is something I know, because also I'm an actress. I know the directors who come to me and say, "You're coming into the room, and your heart is going so fast, so fast, so fast, and give it a moment, count to 3, and then you say, I love you." And I can never do it because I keep that thing. And another thing, you must never say, you know, you are so beautiful when you're doing that, and you...
that moment is over. You're never going to get it again.
It
destroys you.
Over.
Yes.
So, no, we didn't do that. But she likes notes. As a matter of fact, the whole Australian cast, they really like notes. And the way I wanted to work first was very quickly go through the play again and again and really know it. So we had a discussion about going as quickly as I wanted and doing it much slower and doing more notes. But in the end, we really met on that. We found our own method and
pace.
What was good for the play was when we, maybe sometimes when I wanted to go faster and get closer to the truth immediately, and but the notes, we didn't see each other, and we almost had, not a quarrel, but yes. And I got very upset. And then I thought, but this is what the play is about. They don't understand me, but I don't understand them either. What they are saying, they mean something else. And what I'm striving for, I mean something else. And I came back in the room and I said, this is what we are doing. We are using different languages to hide what we really want from each other. And that was a very, very, that was the one confrontation we had, but it was great for our working together.
I bet. Now, when you wanted to get the rest of the cast, for example, everyone sounds wonderful with the Southern accent.
Yes.
They're really doing very well with it. Cate is flawless, which is an incredible ear. When you're listening to the language of Tennessee, often people say about Tennessee Williams' language that it's kind of the American music. Do you hear that in your own ear? Or is it that you can sense when something is true and when it's false? Or do you know what I'm getting at?
Yes, I know what you're getting at. I can hear the music and when it's real. And sometimes it becomes too pronounced.
Yes.
Because it's not about the Southern accent in the end.
Never is.
But it is about the melody in the language. But obviously, I couldn't help them there with that melody. So we had a wonderful coach, Charmaine, who did that. But I was also very aware, listen, the heart is the importance, and not that we are really Southern Belles.
Now, I'm sure you never got to play Blanche on stage or in film, right? And obviously you would have been an incredible Blanche.
You know what?
Yes.
I want to say, since you said that, I thought so, and in a lot of my preparation, you know, I was thinking, this is maybe how I would have done it and whatever, and I will tell Blanche. And so it didn't take me a long time watching her in rehearsals when I knew I could never be such a wonderful Blanche as she was.
I wanted to just mention a story to you about Tennessee when I knew him, that I asked him about Streetcar, that a terrible feeling had happened to me when I was in college. I went to see the movie of it, and in the audience, the other college students, mainly the boys, were cheering every time Marlon Brando would do something incredibly cruel or violent, like, I'll show you how I clear the table, and clear the table, and they'd cheer and clap, and they'd laugh at Blanche. And I asked Tennessee about that, and he said one of the biggest pains in his professional life as a playwright was that Brando was so brilliant that he skewed the play, and sometimes you couldn't connect with Blanche because you could only see Stanley, and that there was a sort of love of Brando's machismo, And I wondered if you thought about that at all, or whether you struggled with the balance at all when you were working with the actors in this production, or was that even ever something that you experienced or came into your mind?
No, I didn't really struggle with it, but I know the man who played Stanley, he struggled with it because to him everybody would say, oh, you're trying to be as good as Brando and Brando and Brando. That's all they talk about. And no one says that to Blanche. I'm trying to be like Vivian Leigh or Jessica Tandy. And so, so no, that was never a problem. What I really wanted from the actor who did Stanley was that he was human, that he was vulnerable, that he understood when they called him an idiot and a Polak and all this, that somewhere he was so hurt, and somewhere then he had to defend himself. And often men defend themselves with great aggression. Yes. And I do feel when he is brutal the way at the dinner table and throws glasses, and so we have never had laughs on that. I maybe gasps. I do also believe that people have seen that this man also is acting out of vulnerable place. He's brutal, but he's also defending his manhood.
It's very clear in his performance. It's wonderful what the two of you
and
have done.
Also because I have even, I have a girlfriend who tells me that her husband very often is saying, I am the boss, using the same words as he does. I am the king of this thing. I think so many women maybe even recognizes that. I don't think many men will say I am the boss and so, but it does happen, and obviously Tennessee Williams also lived in a very violent relationship, and I would think that his man would be the king of that relationship, but it's not funny. It's nothing to laugh of. And I do think men today are maybe even different than when it happened and you saw it. Younger men, I cannot see young men today laugh of that scene.
Oh, I hope you're right. I hope you're right. What was wonderful to watch in the production was that just what you described, and we saw as much of the humanity in Stanley as we did in Blanchett. We understood also Stella and that incredible love that they have. It's not just animal lust, it's love that the two of them have, and that came through very, very strongly. So with those three, and Mitch, I would love to talk about the ending, because I think one of the reasons I started sobbing is because Mitch was sobbing, and I have never seen that.
And I love it, and I want it, and I said to him actually after the matinee, maybe it's too much sobbing, maybe you have to stop before, but I'm not even sure I'm right about that.
It was amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
So I will really go back to him and say, no, keep it.
Do.
Keep it.
It cracked me
He
open.
He always sobbed, and Mitch cannot stop. So for him now, when I said, when she's passing you, I think you have to stop because maybe you take away too much from her. But
no,
he cannot stop.
That's so
and
wonderful.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, good.
Because I'm going to tell him today, and actually there was one reviewer who said the same.
Really?
Too.
Yeah.
And he's such a wonderful actor.
He
this
really is.
Man who plays Mitch. And he had the chance because she told him the truth.
Yeah.
And then she lied about her youth and all that. And then when he comes and he says, what have you done? And so then she is truthful. After my Alan, my husband, died, I slept with a lot of men. I was like this and this, but please love me. And she's so truthful. And what does he say then? You lied to me. The one time when she is so honest, he says, you lied to me, and he doesn't hear her. And that's why I know in the end, he knows what he did to her, maybe more than anyone, because he has such a soft heart, this Mitch. I think he's a wonderful, wonderful actor.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. That's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has so much humor, and the two of them together.
I know, that delight. Now, I wanted to go back to, you said at one point, and we talked about it earlier as well, how wonderful it is for a woman's gaze to be on this play, and how Tennessee wrote women so brilliantly, and for a woman to look at all the characters in the play. I've never, until your production, seen a woman's production of this play, and it's something that often we don't talk about. We don't have the language for it. But of course, when you approach something personally as an artist, you are the sex you are, and I'm sure you can't separate yourself from being a woman, nor could I. But can you see where perhaps your being a woman was helpful in this production?
Oh, I'm sure, because there's so many things I recognize in what Tennessee Williams is writing, or what he really is seeing or understanding with this person. And I think maybe sometimes men directing it, they will think, well, this is maybe the gay side of him thinking like that. It's not the gay side.
No.
It's something within Tennessee Williams that allows him to really recognize and know that kind of feeling that most often belongs so much more to a woman than to a man.
Yeah.
So that's why a woman will not recognize the gay side of Tennessee Williams. She will recognize something that is so parallel to something that she sees and
there are a few
understands.
moments that I would think only another woman would understand, when Cate turns over on the bed and puts her hand.
Yes.
And I just went, oh, yeah, of course. Or the rape.
Yes, and do you see, I said to Stanley, you see, it wasn't a rape. I don't think it is a rape. She's so ready. Everybody around her are making love, or everybody around her are getting close. And what was the only way? And she has told Mitch too, the only way I could get close to someone was having one stranger after another have me. And now she's drunk, and there comes Stanley. And suddenly he puts his feet here in her crotch. And what does she do? She doesn't get up and scream. She leans towards him, and she feels his legs and his feet. And then she gets scared because it's not what she wants. She doesn't want to do it with her sister's husband. At the same time, she does. Because so we all are. We do the very, very bad things that we weren't meant to do. But when we are really touched, even if we are touched so badly as she was touched there, sometimes you give into that, because that may be the only place where you are getting affection or having been seen. And that's also why I made, it's 11 scenes, this play, but I made a 10.5, because I do feel that when he gets her to bed, and she wants to, maybe I will be seen, although this is so horrible what I'm doing. She isn't seen, because my scene, the 10.5, it's dark and then it's light. She's just sitting there with her back to the audience, and he is lying naked on the bed with his back to her. And this is something also that maybe not all men know, that the back of a lover who was just your lover, and you are just sitting there lost, that is maybe the worst situation a woman who is longing to be recognized and seen and touched and loved will ever have. And the same with Mitch, when he is in the scene before his coming, he says, she's lying, I don't want you. And in spite of that, he starts to undress, because I will now have you. I think only a woman really would see that or have that as part of it, that he starts to undress and wants to do that. And Tennessee Williams knew about that, because how many times do you think that Tennessee Williams, and he wasn't always young, and he had these wonderful young lovers, was trying to see me, and being used. I think it is a play to be directed by women.
And also I was talking to you earlier about Eunice, how that female friendship, what a lifeline she is for Stella. And that she also has a very passionate, hot relationship with her husband.
Exactly. And they do some of the same things. They bang and knock out each other just so they can find each other after in their reconciliation. And there is a scene, and maybe 2 or 3 people every night will see it, but it's wonderful, because Eunice, who lives in the floor above them, she, I'm sure, was always so close to Stella, Blanche's sister, who's living there. And then Blanche comes, and the sister loves it, and they will go out and be Southern Belles together. And it's then this neighbor there on top where she is living. She's just hanging over the veranda, and she sees this new person coming, and she sees her old friend is walking away. And I think most people never see it, but she does it so beautifully. This actress. And that's why I hope people could see this production more than once, because often this happens here on this side of the stage, and this happens there on this side of the stage, and then it happens up there.
And, you know, sometimes in shadow, and sometimes we actually see them, but that couple's life is part of the life of the Kowalskis and Dubois. And it's fantastic. It's very, very beautiful. I wanted to talk about your work with the designers, because it is so beautiful. The set design, the lighting design, the costume design. Some of the most exquisite images were made that will sear, and they just seared into my brain. I'll never forget them. So can you talk a little bit about what your process was? And you said also that the painter Edward Hopper was very important to you.
Oh, very much. He's one of my favorites. And the set designer and the costume designer came to United States like half a year before we started.
Are you living in the States?
No, but I was
but
there.
You were here.
I live often in United States, and they came there and lived with me for 10 days, and we
Oh,
it all
lovely.
happened. It was created there, and we have a guest house where they were living, and the walls were full of pictures of the actors and drawings and pieces of cloth, and we had a wonderful time. And the set was created there. You know, he had brought all his material. And in the beginning, yes, the costume designer and I agreed immediately. In the beginning, the set designer and I did not agree.
Tell me about that.
And then he would go out, and this was in Miami, he would go out and sulk there, and I would go to my house and sulk there. And then slowly, we started to meet. I wanted windows, and I wanted the street.
Yes.
And I wanted the fire escape. And then it was Edward Hopper came in, which was my favorite, and it happened to be the favorite of the set designer.
Yeah.
And we would sit and look at pictures of Edward Hopper, and suddenly we agreed, oh yes, there are windows. Oh yes, there are light coming in here. And then he made this incredible color of the set,
Yes,
which
the walls
stunned me when I saw it the first time.
Yeah.
And
Brilliant.
I agree. And all the time the costume designer, she was there, and she would look at his drawings, and then she would listen to me, and suddenly we really seriously met by people working together, but also with the guidance of a painter.
Yes.
By Edward
makes
Hopper. And
absolute
another
sense.
one that I love, which is Hammarshøi, a Danish painter. And I think Edward Hopper has stolen a lot, not stolen, but been inspired. But he shows very rich and wonderful people in big empty rooms and windows. But the two of them together. And suddenly,
you've seen for my Ibsen productions.
yes,
Yeah.
and I made a whole movie based on Hammarshøi called Sophia. About
yes,
yeah,
of course, I saw
everything
that.
there.
Yes.
So we were inspired, and then we started to look at pictures. And then, you know, I told a story about my friend who sat under the blanket when he was dying. And that inspired them, and then they told me stories of their lives. And those 10 days were really, really tremendously important.
Yeah.
Because when I came to Sydney to start, I had my little suitcase with all my blues. And then I had that the three of us really had a finished thing to give them. And it's a very difficult set to work on, because there really is no street, and so much is happening on the street, and there really is very little. So the cramped style that we have in the house, the same cramped style they have on this street, and all of that gave the actors something.
Yeah.
Because they had to kind of,
Yes.
what is this? Where is the street? And how do we get up this fire
and coming
escape?
around
We
the
have to
fires,
do like this. And it gave them inspiration.
Yeah.
And then, of course, me being the one who said, we have to go quickly through it now, quickly through it, blocking here and blocking here. And maybe it went too quick for them, but I know it was important, because the cramped style and going quickly until you started to see that the beginning belongs to the end.
Yes.
That is where they got their freedom. And Australian actors love to improvise. So for them, this was different.
Oh, fantastic, yeah. So you didn't, I also read that you didn't spend much time doing what we call table work. You got people up on their feet quickly.
First of all, some of them maybe have done a lot of preparation. Some of them haven't.
Yeah.
And to do table work while they are starting to find out things. Okay, that I can tell you, because I've had a year now.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Find it out when you are on your feet and you are feeling. And I hate table work.
I know,
I
I do
hate
too.
this intellectual whatever. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do what is happening now.
Yes.
how is it happening now and why is it happening now? And they can only find that out by being on their feet. Did you read We Didn't Do Table Work?
It was in one of the, something that was sent to me, yes, that was part of the process, and I went, yes, this is how you
But they didn't like that. That was where our fight started.
Well, it's like a crutch for American actors, and I guess Australian actors too. It's like you don't have to do your homework.
Yeah.
You come in and you blab about it for a week.
Yes.
It's awful.
It's awful.
Yeah.
I even did a play which actually played here at Kennedy Center, Ghosts. And he's now a famous film director.
Oh, yes, I know him.
You know him?
John, yes.
Yes, but he said later, excuse me for that, because what we did, I played Ghost, Pastor Manders played me. I never get in rehearsals almost to do my own part, because his theory was that everybody else would play different parts.
Oh, literally? You mean?
Literally.
Oh, my
on the
word.
rehearsal, so we would kind of understand it from the other person. You know,
not a good idea.
It's not a good idea. And we weren't really finished by the premiere because I had just started to play my own part. And many years later I met him, and he's a lovely man. And he said, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry.
That's so dear.
I think he hadn't done his homework.
Yeah.
And what is important in a play, because you can't expect always the actors do their homework. The brilliant actors maybe don't even do their homework. But the director has to do their homework. And then you can let go of everything which was your homework, but you have to know what you want, and that can change when the creativity comes from the actors, but you have to have an absolute fundament to stand on. So whatever happens, you are not losing the play.
Right.
And then they can take everything away and do very different.
Then they have real freedom.
Then they have complete freedom.
Yeah.
And with improvisation, I really like improvisation,
I do too.
but you cannot do that if you don't know the notes.
That's right.
You have to know the notes or the text and everything before you do this improvisation.
Yeah. I'll often, do a ton of homework and have staged it completely, and then I throw it out, because I want to see if something else better happens. But I always have that to go back to. So it's always a strong, and it's like being a good parent in a way, that, the rules are clear.
Right.
And the home is safe. And so, if you want to try something else, you can still always have this.
You have that, and you can let go if the solution
Right.
is better from the other side.
Yes. I mean, isn't that wonderful when someone comes in with a better idea?
Yeah,
Love
absolutely.
That. Yeah.
And that I know, both being an actress and a director, that very often the good ideas and so comes from the actor, because actors are tremendously creative. And when I was an actor, I didn't always feel that we are creative. I thought, why am I an actress? It's, in this world we are living in. And now when I'm on the other side and I'm watching them, actors are so creative, they are so wonderful, and they just need an audience, being the director, who sees it, and allows it to come. Yeah, and they must feel that trust.
That trust, absolutely. That seems to me to be the key. Did you feel that as an actress? I mean, you so know it as a director, clearly. Did you know that?
I know it much more now.
Yeah.
I just thought, I don't know what I thought as an actress, but I was very often feeling that there were more important things to do in life
than act.
But now I even feel proud about things I did as an actor, because I understand now that I was creative.
You certainly were.
And then because I am seeing it now with other actors, and I'm seeing how great it is for a director to have creative actors.
Their directors are nothing without their creative actors.
No.
Nothing. Because you can say, you do this, but if it doesn't come alive from deep inside the soul of an actor, it's not alive. It's not going to move people.
Exactly.
You can only do so much as a director.
Exactly. And you know, that's why we were so happy here at Kennedy Center, because you don't know. And when this whole play was over, took 1 second, and suddenly the audience also were part of the performance.
Absolutely.
Because they cried. They cried and got on their feet.
Got on their feet.
Yes.
We were there Sunday. I mean, people leapt to their feet.
Exactly. And that wasn't
No.
applause or whatever. It was that they also were part of the performance.
Yes.
Because I don't think an audience understand how important they are.
I think
how
that's right.
Somebody eating a little candy or doing this and that, they don't understand how they can kill a performance.
Kill a performance or bring it to another level.
Or bring it to
the
high
heights.
level.
Absolutely right. It's such a conversation between the stage and the audience.
Yes.
And there's incredible electricity or lack thereof.
Exactly.
And it's like any relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah. We were in a great audience.
You
and our Sunday afternoon matinee audience. I mean, there were people around me. You could breathing with the actors.
Yeah.
Just crying and laughing and.
Were you there
amazed.
when a man was saying, "Don't"?
No.
That was with a gentleman caller, and a man just said, "Don't."
Oh, with a young boy.
With a young boy.
Oh God.
Don't.
Well, people were feeling that all around me. I don't think anyone actually said it.
No.
Oh, that's a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That is enough. Going back to the woman, just having heard what she lost and how she lost her Alan, and then you see this boy and that look that Cate gives him, and you see it all flooding back inside of her, and the longing is just one of the most gorgeous moments I've ever seen. And her wanting and knowing she shouldn't and all.
Exactly. And she knows anyway that Mitch is coming.
Yes,
so it's
not going to
really
happen.
that she's going to do something, but just for a moment to say, young and Alan.
Yeah.
But we get laughs on it.
But they weren't bad laughs.
No.
They were I call them laughs of recognition. You know, they recognized what it was,
right?
And so they expelled the sound. But they weren't laughing.
No.
In the way you don't want. It was a good laugh, I think. Also because how you threaded the eroticism and women's sexuality throughout. I mean, we know about the male sexuality, and we know about those funny stories told at the poker game, you know, and we know it in Stanley, and we see it, you know, with Unison. I mean, we see the violence up there and the lustfulness of Stanley, but how much Stella wants him is so clear in your production, but how much Blanche has it inside of her all the time, and the need is so clear. And then to see that again, both with Mitch and with the boy, so moving. And then when she becomes the lady with the doctor.
Right.
And then it's just, it's just a deep river that you have through all the play that is so Tennessee Williams. He understood male and female.
He really did.
Sensuality and sexuality and deep internal pain and need, just like nobody. And from the inside, that's why I so agree with you. It wasn't, you know, Blanche being a gay man and standing for a gay man at all.
No.
He'd understood her because he understood the female, and he understood Stanley.
Exactly.
Also.
Yes, so in a way, I think he probably understood more than a lot of playwrights.
I think so too.
Yeah, you are lucky that you met him.
I know, I'm so lucky.
Yes.
Yeah, he gave me so much that I still think about, and I know fuels me to this day. He was a genius.
I met him, and it was so sad. Many years ago, before in Cannes, and at the restaurant, and I was there with my good friend, the actress Bibi Andersson.
Yes.
And there was Tennessee Williams sitting in a corner, and we were just dying. Can we go over and say hello? And we didn't dare to.
Oh,
and then he had this we should have, But he had this bulldog, this boxer dog, big, wonderful dog that was walking around in the restaurant. And Bibi and I wrote a letter saying, "We admire you so much, Tennessee Williams," and we put it in the collar of the dog which was walking around. And then the dog went back to Tennessee Williams, and I don't think he
didn't notice
looked at yes, he noticed it, but I don't think he even read it. He just came back with a paper and said, "My dog is not a mailman." And you know, I understand him because I've had dogs myself, and you probably don't use a dog as a mailman. And somehow he was so offended, and of course we didn't dare to say anything, and that was my only meeting with Tennessee Williams.
Oh, I'm so
but,
sorry.
You know, I believe I believe in heaven and God and the Spirit, and maybe somewhere Tennessee Williams will see that I'm doing good. I'm trying to do good with this play.
I think he would love this production so much. It's just so his soul. You've just found it. All of you found him.
Yeah,
I'm sure it gives him. I mean, just also how he was so afraid. You know how people would skew the play opposite with Stanley, and you can't with what you've done.
No.
You can't.
No.
You go to some place so rich and beautiful. He would love it.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's all the time we have today. Thanks for tuning into Backstage at the Kennedy Center. I'd like to thank Liv Ullmann, who has taken the time to be here with us. I'd also like to thank George Washington University School of Media and Public Affairs for hosting us today. If you would like more information about this program or other programs in the series, please visit our website at the address on your screen. And thank you for being with us.